Hey folks, I'm the Mysterious JG, and I want to welcome you to my Let's Play of Nobunaga's Ambition Sphere of Influence. I have been anxious to get started for a while now. Been really looking forward to this. Got some trepidation about it as well. All will be revealed in time. And I want to jump as quickly as possible into gameplay because I know that these intros can ramble. There's a little business I want to take care of first, but we're going to get to gameplay very soon. This will be the first video of gameplay for the new LP series. Let's hop right in. I want to watch the intro one more time because I really like the intro to this game. So we're going to do that. We're going to watch the intro. You and me, folks. I can't think what the worst RTK slash Nobunaga's Ambition intro is, but I bet you, judged by the standards of that game's time, it's pretty fucking awesome, whatever it is. It's Cha-Cha! Cha-Cha! Hey, Cha-Cha, how you doing? Cha-Cha is, for you Samurai Warriors fans out there, the daughter of Nagamasa and Oichi. And for you non-Samurai Warriors fans, she's also the daughter of... Never mind. Okay, so real quick before we get rolling, I owe an apology to unreadable username that starts with J4 and a couple of other people. I got a little snappy with J4 guy. I mean, just as bad as it ever got was replying to like a long thread of us going back and forth about his portrait with "drop it" in all caps because I started to write a long thing about, well, not long. I mean, I started writing a post about how, like, look, columns work like this, rows like, no one else had this problem, what's your deal? And then was like, no, just relax. And then one of the other guys, J4W Pirate, whose username is like J4 Warble Garble random characters. Sorry, buddy, I'm trying to apologize and at the same time make a funny username. But him, Princess Kaiden, and a couple of other characters who used portraits from the... So you got the right portrait now. Because eventually you broke down and described what the guy in the portrait looked like, and that was kind of what I needed. People who did that almost always got the right portrait. Somebody like gave up on communicating it to me and gave me a timestamp from my video. And that, coupled with Princess Kaiden, who is... Where's Princess Kaiden at? Here's Princess Kaiden, because it's the closest he could come to pink on armor. J4W, I'm sure, is a perfectly good guy, but when he kept like giving me. He's the one who at one point had this as his like manly pirate character, and he kept giving me new instructions on how to get to his portrait he wanted, and they never made sense. And I figured, oh, you know, when you're on YouTube and you're talking to somebody who's coming across as a doof, then probably they're just a doof, because YouTube is crawling with morons. But then the pretty princess Kaiden guy was also screwing up. And that's a YouTube user that I knew from one or two of my other LPs. Not that, oh, if you watch my LPs, you're automatically a genius, but he was like actually tracking. The Princess Kaiden is like a running joke from a prior LP. And the thing about jokes is that when I make a joke and you understand it and you go along with me on it, I'm inclined to think you're reasonably intelligent. This is the effect of an experience where I made a joke about Guan Yu using, like, his Super Saiyan ultra-high power level to cause an earthquake at Chirby by striking the ground with his blue dragon, and that killed Cao Cao, and blah blah. I didn't mention Super Saiyans, but you know what I'm getting. It's like, oh, he's got so much fighting aura. He killed Cao Cao with just striking the ground. Like, I said that during a cinematic in which Koei implied it was happening because they're getting all goofy. And like 800 people showed up to correct me and tell me that's not what happened because they didn't understand I was joking. So anyway, what I'm getting at is that Princess Kaiden actually was able to understand a joke, so I'm like, well, I don't have enough information on this user to know. But this guy appears to be able to, like, actually understand, you know, things that involve some, you know, thought process. And he's also screwing up. And then I finally was like, okay, look, a small minority of people who submitted portraits to me have come back and told me, no, you got it wrong, with various levels of, Coolio Wing, by the way, I changed yours to what I thought you wanted it to be. You didn't answer when I asked you if your portrait was right, but I refigured your portrait, as I'm about to explain. A small minority of people who whose created characters I've made complained that I wasn't, that, you know, no, that's not what I asked for, JG, as far as a portrait. Other people said there was a couple of times where I missed an item off of somebody's checklist, or I put in the stats of the previous person because my eyes skipped a row, but the portraits were the big thing. People kept telling me the portraits were wrong. And but it was a minority. Most people were fine, and I finally realized that with one exception, everybody who had a problem with their portrait was on the EX1 tab, and I finally got the reason. And the reason really came up because of Yasuke here. Because I started playing around a little bit, and suddenly I had a Ronin in my territory named Yasuke, who... Yasuke here is... He's like this guy that the American fans in particular have been wondering why he's not already a playable Samurai Warriors character. He's an actual... he was an African... I believe he was a slave. African slave of Portuguese missionaries. He might have been traveling with them and not a slave. He might have been like a indentured servant. I didn't break out the history books to make sure I'm accurate. But Yasuke was, I believe he was a slave of Portuguese missionaries in Japan, and Nobunaga saw him, and, you know, unsurprisingly, Nobunaga had never seen a black-skinned person before, so he was, you know, kind of fascinated, as you would be, understandably enough. Same way that, like, the natives of South America were fascinated by Cortez and you know, that kind of thing. So he's fascinated by this guy. He ends up eventually being a samurai with like rank and title in Nobunaga's service. And he's kind of this famous like historical curiosity in a way. He never becomes like an important lord who has like, you know, lands that are bequeathed to him in like households, and but he does get paid a stipend and is considered like a noble in Nobunaga's service. And the reason I noticed him because, hey, suddenly there's a black character. There wasn't a black character here before when I was doing the video showing you guys how to do portraits. What happened is, as I was playing the game off screen, just messing around, new EX1 portraits got unlocked, and I didn't realize that's what was happening. New characters popped that I could use, and I was like, oh, great. But their faces don't appear in EX1 until you unlock them as characters. So I made a video where I showed you guys the rows and columns. On the male one, it didn't change, which is why, where are you here? Night Demon, you are not off the hook. You gave me a bunch of portrait things that didn't make sense. You sent me back a kind of semi-snarky message saying, well, you didn't get my portrait right, but that's okay. Everyone else who sent me a portrait on the male tab and on the female tab did fine. You are the only one. You are not off the hook. But for everyone else whose portrait was screwed up, this is why. I gave you a video, and at that time, this face didn't exist. So this guy here, assuming he wasn't also an added character, he would have been here. And then this lady would have been at the end of that row, and blah, blah, blah. There's like 3 characters added. I think they were all added in right here. So actually, I think, like for example, Zelnorak Tetsu no Kabe was fine because he picked the very first one, and his portrait never shifted. But Pretty Princess Kaiden, I ended up picking like this guy, and I was like, I don't know why you think this guy looks like Princess Kaiden, but okay. And then poor Go Away. I'm not sure how I ended up with this portrait for you, but I think this is the one you wanted. Oh, Raiden Weissman. I changed your portrait, but I guess I didn't save. So here's an example. Raiden Weissman. I grabbed this portrait from some kind of way at some point. And this was based on me trying to find the portrait he actually wanted. He described as the white-haired guy who does not have a beard. So I don't know if you knew you were doing this, but you're actually picking Nobuyuki Sanada's portrait from Samurai Warriors 4, but I'll give it to you, I don't care. The portraits from the Samurai Warriors games are up for grabs. So yeah, that was what he wanted. His spacing was all thrown off because of the EX1 tab. And then poor J4W Pirate kept getting these women down here and all sorts of goofiness. At one point he was saying that, you know, the last column, and it's like 2 faces above somebody else, and like he kept making these. He was trying to give me like any way to describe it, so that it's like, KG, get it through your thick head. I want this portrait, this portrait, this portrait. It's to the left of this portrait. It's above this portrait, and like for whatever reason, it was only like the 4th pass where he finally described what the portrait looked like, and then I got it, but. Like, at one point, he's like, it's 2 rows, it's in the last column, 2 rows above some female portraits, and I was like, not only is the portrait 2 rows below what you just described not a female portrait, he had actually at one point, like, zoned in on my portrait, and tried to claim my portrait. I'm like, you can't do that! It was because a couple of faces actually got inserted by my off-screening that were not there when I recorded the video that showed you how to pick your face. So, if I ever do this again, I'll probably just tell people to do timestamps. Like, timestamp the picture that you wanted. That would have been an easy fix. But anyway, that's it now. So there's 1 or 2 people who, without hearing back from you, I tried to refigure which face you wanted. And it's possible I screwed it up, and if I did, sorry, you're gonna have to live with it. The picture that you ended up with before I tried to refigure it probably isn't right either. And if you didn't watch the video where I went through the characters and gave you the chance to make sure to tell me I was right or wrong, then I guess it's kind of on you. Yeah, ultimately, I guess what I'm saying is, in my own defense, I spent hours putting this thing together. So I don't feel that it's for lack of trying that some of your characters didn't come out perfect. You'll just have to live with it. Now, ooh, boy. Half the video is already over. But I want to get going. I definitely want to get going. So we are going to start the LP now. I'd really hoped not to spend half the first video talking, but it is what it is. So I guess while I'm still just jabbering away, I went ahead and bought all the DLC for the game. That's inherently silly because I haven't even finished playing the content that's in game. But the way I looked at it was, I'm kind of voting with my pocketbook. I want to support Koei and actually localize in this game. RTK 12 had a lot of flaws. It was probably my least favorite RTK game I've played, which is not to say it was a bad game. but it was hard to give the game a fair shake because of the language issue. So I definitely want Koei to continue to come out with these games rather than just like 8 different re-releases of every Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors game. And I love those games, but I want them to keep bringing these games over here too. And even Samurai Warriors now, like they've got this notion that, and I can't fault them for this because it probably is some truth to it. Oh, the people who really like those games are such Japophiles that they always just, we get a bunch of people on our own Koei forums bitching when they don't have the Japanese language option. Why are we paying for English language? Let's just localize it with some text translation. So that to me hurt the last Samurai Warriors game, and you know, I can understand how they would want to bring the Samurai or the Dynasty Warriors, which is a big money franchise, over, and then cut corners as much as possible with everything else to keep their costs low, and not even possibly bother to localize some of the strategy games, which don't sell as well. Like, they tend to be something that you can buy a game like this and play it for years, and that doesn't really do Koei all that much good, because they want to continue to make money from you. That's why they keep re-releasing the same game with, you know, Extreme Legends Edition and stuff. So I bought the DLC. It's kind of my way of voting with my checkbook. I want to support them and bringing these types of games to us by actually doing what I can to make it profitable for them to do so. I also figured, because my intention is to start at Birth of Nobunaga and play through as far as I can, following the historical stuff as far as I can before it's almost inevitably going to be broken. Even had I not added a bunch of created characters, I'm sure that at some point I would not have been able to get the history to continue to go. So at some point it's going to break off. But events from some of the DLC scenarios, like God of War Descends, Struggle for Power actually is one of the Nobunaga ones, but Shingen's Final Step. I'm hoping some of the events from these might also pop. I just want to showcase as much of the story material as I can. But at any rate, I promise this next video is going to be the first video to play, so it's time to get started. It's the Birth of Nobunaga scenario, 1534, June. Among the daimyo of the Sengoku era were many who held the rank of Shugo, regional leaders of the Muromachi Bakufu. Serving under the Owari Shugu was his deputy, and serving under the deputy was Nobuhide Oda. That this man's child would one day climb to greater heights than either the Shugo or daimyo was yet unbeknownst to all. So, quick look at the map here. Who have we got to look out for? Well, there's created characters scattered throughout who are going to make certain forces stronger than they otherwise would be. The Amago are pretty powerful right now over in the west. It looks like Kyushu here is up for grabs. And as a matter of fact, it looks like the Uichi, whoever they are the dominant faction because they got the most cities. But playing around off screen as the clan that JG Mystery just popped in randomly, I can tell you that's a Shimazu, I guess, but the main Shimazu force is Takahisa's. These guys are not to be trifled with. And then over on, that's Kyushu, and I'm blanking on the name of this island again. Starts with an S. There's a couple of different forces of import over here. The one that ends up kind of ultimately taking the whole show will eventually be... Are they even on the map at this point? Maybe not. That's Motochika, but Motochika's dad. Well, anyway. A lot of different forces at play over here. A couple of different forces over here, blah, blah, blah. But the ones that we're going to need to be aware of as we proceed. There's 2 Oda forces over here, because somehow, it's not really that this is a separate force now. It's just that when Nobuhide dies, there's going to be a bit of a power struggle. So to put that in place, they've got 2 Oda forces so that Nobunaga and his brother can struggle for control. The Matsudaira clan is going to be important, unless I'm mistaken. And I don't know the history here as well as I know in RTK. It's not even technically true. because RTK, I know the novel better than I know the actual history. But the Natsudaira, I believe that's the clan that will give rise to Tokugawa Ieyasu. And big part of what makes it difficult for Westerners, and I suppose modern Japanese, to track the history here is that the customs of the time involved people changing their names as they achieve different social ranks. So the guy who will become Ieyasu comes out of this group eventually. And in the long term, if things follow a historical path, these guys are going to end up being our allies, but it won't start out that way. And we've got... it's weird, they don't seem to be popping on the map, but the Viper of Minos forces up here. The Imagawa are going to be a big threat to us early, and historically, we should be coming to blows with them. Grimmith is the one that I remember by name, but there's quite a few officers I think popped up amongst the Hojo territories, and the Hojo are already a very powerful clan. Coming into the Sengoku period, they were like the last clan to really have a huge amount of power. I think sort of kind of the last clan to actually rule Japan. The Hojo have been a powerful clan for a long time. If things follow a historical path, they will be utterly wiped out before it's all over. But they are a force to be reckoned with, and they have one of the most defensible positions in the entire game. So they are a tough nut to crack. The Hojo in real history, Nobunaga was dead before the Hojo finally fell. You have the Takeda of Shingen the Ruler fame. The Takeda are not to be sneezed at. They will be allied with the Imagawa against us early on. And the Imagawa, by the way, if you're a Samurai Warriors fan, they're represented by the goofy, face-painted fat guy who plays Kamari, not the character from Final Fantasy X. That same character appears in this game, but he's... whatever comic relief thing they decided to do in Samurai Warriors, he's a beast in this game. He's to be feared. Somewhere up here, the Uesugi are also hanging about. And the Date are up here too, but it's going to be a while before the Date really establish themselves as the dominant power in the north, if it even works out that way. And way up here, you never know what Zerfal's going to do. Anyway, folks, I had promised that this would be the first video with gameplay, but the intro stuff kind of got in the way a bit. So I think I'll make this one just a little bit short so that next time we can absolutely positively start all gameplay. But that being said, let's set our settings here. This is as good a time as any to go over this, now that I've decided that I'm going to finish up the video without actually starting a turn. The difficulty goes from easy to extreme, and then there's ones you can edit. Because I like the way they do the difficulty here. They actually lay out for you what the different difficulty settings mean. So I did a lot of off-screening, well, not a lot, but I did quite a bit of off-screening, I suppose, on easy difficulty, just to get try to get a feel for the game itself. A lot of stuff I didn't pick up on, and part of that might be because on easy difficulty, as often happens in these games, you don't really have to be that good to thrive, so you don't really need to get the nuances down. On easy difficulty, you have higher income than the enemy forces and a better harvest. Basically, you just grow faster than they do. And your own clan takes less damage than others. I don't know if they mean in battle or in sieges. I guess morale loss in sieges is here. But basically, when I played on easy difficulty, I was able to follow the historical paths, and eventually I kept hitting a point where I had to wait and couldn't do anything because there was no historical path for me to take. The historical quests had dried out, and I didn't want to start expanding and break the historical quests, and that's about when I stopped. But with the low AI aggression, I was never really getting attacked unless it was scripted, and I was growing at a faster clip than anybody else, and it was kind of fun, but it was pretty chill. Normal difficulty, I played a little bit as kind of a weaker clan on Kyushu, and I ran into a problem that I've ran into in every other Nobunaga's Ambition game I've ever played, and I haven't played a ton of them. But usually your biggest issue is that there are so many small forces and no great advantages by anybody in troop count that when you march your army out of your city to take your first thief, you leave your own city poorly defended and invite it to be attacked. So in the Nobunaga's Ambition games, a big thing is the first person to go on offense is going to get stomped by a third party. So I was trying to attack, I was a weak clan trying to attack another weak clan to expand, and a strong clan came and tried to take my base. It wasn't quite that simple, I'm giving you the short version. And I was able to use diplomacy to make that game recoverable, but I was just goofing around learning, so I had no intention of going back and finishing. As you can see, on normal difficulty, everything's middle of the road, so that's where we're going to actually play. Hard keeps you at mid, and basically the computer's growing faster than you, but it's basically the reverse of easy mode. The computer grows a little bit faster than you instead of the other way around. You can manually set it so that somebody's income is on low, but it doesn't look like any of the settings really stick anyone with that handicap. But I would say the fact that they grow a bit faster than you and they have high aggression level. Province's area of control, mid-wide, unlimited. I don't know what that means exactly, but I guess we'll find out. And then in extreme, it's just the same thing. They don't kick you down to low. They just go with changing the AI. And you can edit, which basically means that if you are playing on normal, and if you think it's fair, okay, everybody has the same basic rules about income, harvest, labor. I don't want it to be built in that they get troops faster than I do, or I get food faster than them. You can still change the AI levels, which I think is reasonable to play with. So we're going to play on normal difficulty. Created officers are going to be on. Quests are going to be on. Events are going to be on. The lifespan, historical, longevity, or ageless, we're going to go with historical, and that won't impact any of your created characters. Battle death is on. I don't know how often that happens. Fictional maiden is on, because I think that's fun. We could be more realistic and turn it off, but I don't think I will. Officer name, common, or true. And true name, officers are referred to by their true names during play, but their common names in historical quests and events. I'm going to stick with common. What I'm not sure of, and we should be able to check, but not right away, is whether characters whose names changes appear using the name that they're most known by. For example, the first time Hideyoshi shows up, will he be called Hideyoshi Toyotomi? Or will he start out as something else? Will Ieyasu be Ieyasu, or will he be something or other different? And I guess we'll have to wait till those characters pop to find out, because they're the only ones who I would even recognize by something of their famous name. Maiden officers on or off. This is an interesting one. When a daughter is born into a noble family in this game, and is your ruling family, then you choose. They can either become an officer and serve in your force as an officer, or you basically keep them in reserve as a maiden, which means that you use them in the more traditional diplomatic sense. You can marry them off to someone to make them loyal to your clan. You can marry them off to someone who's already part of another clan to cement an alliance. There's historical examples. The big one that happened in this period that pops up in a lot of Koei games is that Nobunaga married his younger sister, Oichi. And he had a lot of half-brothers and sisters, but Oichi was his actual, like, full-on sister. By this, same parents, both parents. Married her off to Nagamasa Azai. Nagamasa Azai, according to the Samurai Warrior series, they were madly in love. But honor called for him to side with another clan when the Oda went to war with that clan. So she was sent back to Nobunaga, and blah blah blah, and that was a huge deal because it was tied into so many samurai traditions about marriage lines. What I'm getting at here is that if you have this on, you have the option of having women pop up as being officers in your force, other than created character women and maybe one or two special women. And we're going to do that. And I think, by and large, I'll probably make them officers rather than keeping them for diplomatic purposes. But that might be a poor decision, and I'll let you guys chime in the comments and advise me on what you think. And then in-game edit. In-game editing can be used. I'm not going to be using in-game editing anyway, because, as I found out, if you make an edit to officers of any kind during a game, well, A, you can't earn achievements, which I don't care about that much. Achievements, it's kind of like PlayStation trophies type of thing, except it unlocks other characters. So I guess I do care a little. But the big thing is that the historical quests shut down if you edit characters in-game, and I don't want that to happen. Anyway, a lot of talking. I guess I should have known I'd never be able to get rolling with this without at least one video's worth of yakking. But we're set to go. If your characters aren't quite exactly perfect what you wanted, I apologize, but it's too late. We're moving on. And next time, we will actually begin the LP itself. I'm the Serious JT. Thanks for watching. And, yeah, sorry about another 30-minute intro video. It is what it is. We'll see you next time.